Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Super Duper Homebrew Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Transferring back to the fermenter, sealing keg lids, leaky keg posts, and our 2021 year-end review. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 261. Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined by the Director of Operations, or pardon me, he's not here. He's not here, but you know who is here? Todd, I'm sorry. He's not here, but you're here. It's Mr. Todd Burns. He's the president and chief keg washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns.
We're doing a show together, just two of us like old times. This is great.
This is going to be awesome. It's going to be good.
Hey, let's show a little more enthusiasm there.
You know what, though? I didn't change the questions I had planned. So if anyone accuses us of only taking equipment-related questions, that was the plan. Mainly because, here, let me kill the music.
Thank you.
Well, shut up. We were... Every time I tell you shut up, I hear my mom in my head going, "You really shouldn't tell him to shut up. He is your boss." I'm like, "You shut up, lady."
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Don't tell your mother to shut up. That's terrible.
I know. She's a nice woman. You know her.
She should slap you.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
Well, it's long past due. Let's just say that.
Past due. I took all voicemail questions for this week's show to appease you because you love that. That was like my year-end gift for you. I
appreciate it.
We're doing all voicemails, and these happen to be some of the latest voicemails we had. And so I thought, I'll just take these. And most of them, actually, every question today is basically an equipment-related question. So it worked out. James is swamped. We all at headquarters decided to take our vacation at the same time. And that's kind of affecting our staffing, I think, when everyone decides to vacation at the same time. So,
right. Yeah, no, it definitely affects us when it was bad planning. I just sent out a new vacation request form to everybody and the company so that we're going to be limiting vacations at the same time in the future.
And you made a specific point to tell me I don't get vacations. Like, I think I read the fine print. You've revoked all my vacations.
Yeah, we just can't really afford to give you vacations anymore. So I apologize, but I feel bad about it.
I feel bad about it. No, I read it, and the smart aleck I am last night at whatever 9:30 p.m. I texted you like, "Hey, and the new thing, do I need to let you know like how far out?" Because and you're like, "Well, God, Josh, like when's the trip?" I was like, "It's December of 2022," and I think you blocked my number.
I know. I read it, and for some reason, I put on February in my mind, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll work it out in February." And I was like, "Wait a minute, no, that's a year from now."
Your anniversary is February, isn't it? No, your birthday is February.
My birthday's February. Yeah,
I forget your anniversary. Y'all are coming. Well, this 2022 is my 15th wedding anniversary, so I think I'm going to take her on a cruise or something. If cruising is a thing, who knows with our world today? But you're on your what, like 20? Are you on your 26th wedding anniversary?
No. Coming up on
23rd, 24th. Yeah.
You would need to ask my wife that question.
Okay. She doesn't listen. Otherwise,
let's see. My daughter was born in 2000, 2 years. Yeah, God, we are coming up on 20 something.
You are. I know you are. Yeah,
Yep.
That's funny. I would edit that out so you don't look bad. But again, she doesn't listen, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, no. She's used to me looking bad.
You had to. I love the other day. This is totally off topic, and I won't even name names. You said, "Hey, what's so and so's kid's name?" And I said it immediately. You go, "I knew you'd know. I knew you'd know." You compared me to your wife, like.
Yeah, you're really good at that stuff. You're so sensitive. I like that about you.
You're so sensitive. Shut up. Small talk before we get into it. I have my pop. Even he was infected with COVID, and this man's still working. He called me. He said he feels 100%. Nobody worry about him. Look, he made me the cable, the extension that I'm going to need for the new Grainfather, the 10 gallon. I was about to call it the 10 liter. It's not a 10 liter.
Oh, there you go. They're very cool.
Liter.
That is an old AC plug. I remember those after I look at it.
This is what the Grainfather goes into, and this is what my dryer connection is right now.
Yeah, I think it's strange they made it that plug. If it was me, I would have made it the dryer plug because listen, anybody that has a plug like that in their house is because they used it with a window unit in like 1970.
Is that true? Is that
nobody uses that plug anymore? People will disagree with me, but that plug is rarely used anymore.
He's talking about this plug, YouTube people.
Yeah.
What that's a NEMA 16 or what is it?
I don't remember which NEMA it is. It's just so obscure now.
That's what my dad said. Sort of the same thing. It was like that's an odd one to have.
Yeah,
but between this is 6 feet. And then the 6 feet that they have, I should be able to comfortably, my laundry room is right by my garage, get right out the door so I could be comfortably brewing, which is my segue to, I need to decide, do you think, Todd, should I do a brew day? The offices are closed on the 31st, which is tomorrow.
Friday, yeah.
Friday the 31st. We're recording this the same day we're publishing it. So tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Friday and you have a ketconnection.com question, don't call. We can't help you. Now, always you could text me at our 325-305-6107 and I'll do my best. But without
you could call my cell phone if you wanted to. It's on the website. If you felt like it was important enough to call it, then call it.
Yeah, we're very accessible. But what I'm getting at is we're not open. So I have the day tomorrow to either do a brew day, a live brew day streaming to our Trub Club members, either through our YouTube. I'll have the link published on patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Todd, do you think I should do it tomorrow, New Year's Eve, or Saturday, New Year's Day? What would you be more likely to tune in if you were a member of our Trub Club? You are a member of our Trub
Probably
Club.
Saturday, I would think.
Okay, that was the other feedback I got from other people too. Okay. I'll do it Saturday. I'll do the brew day. I have nothing going on the 1st. Normally I train on Saturdays, but my gym is closed for New Year's Day. So I will brew a 10-gallon batch of Kolsch.
Maybe I should brew this weekend.
Why don't we
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, why don't we do joint brew days? Let's do joint brew day.
Okay.
I can zoom you in.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wait, are you going to start though at like 5:30 a.m.? Because that's not cool.
No, I don't usually start till 6.
You're not. I'll zoom you in when I start. You'll be cleaning. It'll be 9 a.m. and you'll be cleaning.
I didn't know I had to be cool. That's difficult for me. So
stop it. So yeah, I'm gonna do a live brew day on Saturday, New Year's Day. We'll see what time. If you're a member of our Trub Club, you'll get it emailed to you, or go check out the post I'm going to make at patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. And again, I don't know what you're brewing, Todd. I'm brewing a Kolsch. I've got 2 packs of Dieter. I've got the whole grain bill for 10 gallons of Kolsch. It's going to be a very good brew day.
Well, I brewed 2 Kolsch's in a row, so I can assure you I'm not brewing a Kolsch, but I don't know what I'm brewing yet.
And I still have a 5-gallon keg of the Kolsch that you and I brewed.
I don't have any left. It's all gone.
Yeah, well, because our Christmas kind of got warped because of COVID, and it seems like everybody and their mothers has gotten it recently. No one drank that Kolsch, so I have it, and I'm drawing from it in my garage fridge with the event faucet, a CM Becker event faucet.
Wow.
It's fantastic. It's an incredible Kolsch. I don't have to tell you. You went through it quick. I only regret that we didn't have your fermenter for this brew day that I could throw this onto that cake that already existed, because it seemed like it was very effective for this last batch.
Oh, wow. That second one was so fast. Yeah.
So fast and and dry, like how you like it.
Oh yeah.
It ended up real good. So yeah, we're gonna brew. Todd will determine, I guess, today, because you're not going to the office tomorrow. You better.
No, I'll determine after this call.
Okay. You could do, if we have the ingredients, you could always do the ESB. You haven't done that in a while.
I have not. I love that beer though. Not a bad idea.
Please do, actually, because last time you did it was the Cooler Brew video, which I think was 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, and, not a bad idea.
That was a really good, and that is my also segue for Trub Club recipe receiving members. You still have a day, if you're listening to this before New Year, you still have a day to get the ESB as a part of our Trub Club when you join at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Enough of the small talk for that. I don't have listener feedback because I do have a bunch of questions through voicemail. Do you have any small talk you wanted to offer? I had stuff for James. I was going to ask him, did he end up kegging the pills? How did it turn out? You don't have any beer that you brewed recently that's fermenting, do you?
No, and all the beers in my kegerator are going empty one after another. So everybody drank, must have been close to emptying every keg in there. So every time I go to get a beer, it's like pouring out. So everything's blowing out at once. How's
the breakfast stout? Because your friends didn't like it, so I'm assuming.
I love it.
But is there still a lot left, or have you?
I don't know. I've hit it. I've hit it some. Some other people have too. Jim and
Jim did. He came back around. He likes it.
Yeah. Oh. Well, he drank it. Jim's. Jim doesn't. If it's free beer,
That's like all your friends, though. That's why I was surprised when they were picky. They're like, Josh, this coffee stout, I'm sure some people like it. Bauman told me that verbatim. He goes, Josh, I'm sure some people like it.
It is awesome. It's really good.
You're laughing because that was a good Bauman. I've been working on my Bauman.
Yeah, it sounded just like your Mark.
No, Mark is, Josh, you got to do something better with that breakfast stout. Like, honestly, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't drink it at breakfast. Anyway, okay. All the people, we've lost everyone.
God, everybody's gone now.
Everybody's gone. All right, so with that, we have these questions. They're all voicemail. Let's get it started with, I'm going to say, is my favorite caller of 2021. He was my highlight of 2021. We've got another message from our buddy, Marty from Omaha.
It's Marty from Omaha. As always, I love your podcast. Amidst all your teasing of each other, I actually learn a lot from your answers. As we all know, a lot of difficult decisions need to be made on the fly when you're brewing. I have a situation right now with a barley wine. Let me start by saying I haven't made one before. I started at 1090 and I was too lazy to make a starter. Even though I pitched 2 packages of my favorite Clyke yeast, it appeared that the fermentation had stalled after a week at 1048. In my arrogance, I thought it would fix itself because I never make bad beer, right? And so I transferred it from my fermenter to a keg and put it in a warmer place. After a few more days in a sunny window, the yeast wasn't roused. I went to my app and realized that I had underpitched, and the Beersmith app actually told me it was going to end at 1048. Okay, so look at your apps, guys. So I had to decide whether I was going to try to restart and finish the fermentation in the keg with more yeast, but very little headspace and no blow-off tube, or transfer back to a fermenter and risk oxygenating the beer. I know how much you guys hate oxygen. I went ahead with the careful transfer back to the fermenter, and I'm trying to get it going again with a yeast starter. I'm not going to be naive and say these things never happen to you, because I know they do. What would you guys have done? And P.S., have you tried that Mountain Dew and Jack Daniels yet? Thanks for taking my call.
No, I haven't.
I have not either. I can't bring myself to do it.
You know what? I'm going to do it New Year's. I don't have Jack Daniels. I'll order some. I have Mountain Dew in my fridge from a party. But I have Rebecca Creek and I have Tin Cup, but it has to be Jack Daniels, right? That's
Jack Daniels. Yeah. Jack Daniels. Cause those other 2 aren't redneck enough to put in Mountain Dew.
I say I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to edit that out. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to.
You mean you're not going to do it, or you're not going to edit it out, or both?
Both. No, both.
Yes.
I'm not going to do it on New Year's. I'm not going to do it for New Year's because I want to enjoy. Because if it does end up being real bad, that's going to ruin my New Year's Eve. And
you could just have one sip of it.
Yeah, but then that's a waste.
All right. Well, anyway, let's talk. Let's answer his question.
Well, before I give my intricate, well thought out answer, I want to kick it to you. What would you have done in that situation? He did take a big risk with potential oxidation by doing the transfer back to the fermenter. He didn't tell us how he transferred. I'm assuming it was closed transfer with CO2 pushing it, and it wasn't an open air kind of auto siphon transfer. But what would you have done in that situation, or how would you critique what he did?
I don't know 100% because my biggest question would be about the oxygen. So he doesn't want to oxygenate it, but you still need, if you're going to add more yeast, you still need oxygen. Yeast can't work without any oxygen. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. I'm assuming it still has some in there if it wasn't fermented all the way, but I don't know that for sure. So would it hurt it what I would do if I didn't want to oxygenate it is I would obviously put a hose down the bottom of the fermenter. I'm going to guess he's using like a glass carboy. And then I would purge the oxygen out by putting some CO2 in from my CO2 hose. Once I felt like it was purged, then I'd put the liquid hose in there and I'd do a closed transfer. Not really closed because the top of the thing's open, but for all practical purposes closed. I would transfer the beer back in there, and I don't think you would get any oxygen in the beer. My question is, do you need any oxygen in the beer if you're still going to ferment that much more? Now, I know that I would think that his final gravity would be somewhere between 2 and 3, and he's at 4. What is he at?
Let me look through the text part. 1048.
Okay, 1048. So he's at 4.8, and he needs to get to probably somewhere between 2 and 3. So that's still a ways to go. I mean, I don't know that if you need more oxygen. I've never run into that situation before, and I don't know if you just had it shoot in there and get a little more oxygen in it. Well, I don't know. I would think I would. So this will be one of those great answers where people can just skin me alive in comments.
I love it.
Back.
I love it.
Skin me alive, but I would almost think you would need a little more oxygen in it if you're going to try to go that much further down. Because
you're saying your claim, the cardboard taste of oxidation would not present itself because the yeast would do their job in the second pitch in the re-fermentation of the beverage. You're saying that there wouldn't be residual oxidation.
I am claiming that I don't know. But I think that you're going to have oxygen in there for the yeast to work. And I am sure there is somebody out there in Homebrew Happy Hour world that can answer this question better than me, because I just don't know. You've got to have oxygen, but when do you get oxygenation? If I don't know. I mean, that's
oxidation.
Oxidation. Sorry. What did I say?
Oxygenation.
Yeah. Oxidation. So I don't know. But I do know that you'd have to have oxygen for it to continue, but I don't know how much oxygen is still in the beer if it didn't ferment all the way.
If you're I understand his concern in the keg, especially having minimal headspace, and he was worried about the other conditions of it being in the keg, no blow off. Do we sell at Keg Connection fermenting lids? We did at some point, but I remember them being kind of difficult to make. I don't know if we have them active on the site.
I don't know. I think they're on there.
Have you used them before?
They're really not hard to make. Okay. No, I would have probably pitched it. I mean, that's the thing. He says, would you have transferred or would you have not transferred? Well, it's hard to answer that question because I don't know if he needs more oxygen or not. And I really don't know. Well, I don't know much. I do know that if he did want to leave it in the keg, it would be very easy to put a bubbler on by just having a hole in a keg lid and putting the bubbler in that with a bung. But I've done that before.
Or if not a bubbler, you can make
well.
the same thing. You can make a blow off tube as well,
Yeah.
like you would have with any standard size bung hole.
You could probably even just take the pressure relief valve out if it's a ball lock, and just put something over that. It's probably not going to. I don't think you're going to have a huge amount of action. You could maybe try to get a hose to fit over that, or just I just put something over the top of it. I don't know. I mean, it's remember that a lot of people have brewed beer in the past and not had a bubbler, right? They just were careful not to get stuff in. As long as you got CO2 coming out, stuff's not going to come in, right?
Right. That blanket, that wall of CO2 that will be built is enough to, as long as you're not actively putting stuff in, what, right?
Yeah. So you might even get away with putting a cup upside down on it or something like that until you could get a lid with a bubbler on it, or put a hose, stick a hose over it and put it in water or something like that. So,
and obviously this would, you'd have to pre-plan for this part, but in a best case scenario, if you knew, hey, there's a potential I'm going to ferment in this keg, a floating dip tube is a great accessory to have so that you're not going to be drawing from the bottom where all the trub will be. That's for you, Lorena, our trub. And the float, but it's not necessary. It's just if you have an unexpected fermentation going on in your keg and you don't have an adjusted kind of dip tube, whether it be you cut an inch from the bottom or you have a floating, you're going to get some draws of some stuff at first, right?
Yeah, I don't really worry about it much, because if you do have that situation, it's not fermenting a whole lot, so you shouldn't get a ton in there, because you're kind of in the secondary, not quite at the secondary if you're going that far. You know what I mean, though? I mean, you obviously are, because that's where you are, but you could put you could draw a few beers out and let all the sediment that's on the dip tube get sucked through, and then your beer should be clear after that. I've had that happen lots of times.
You have done that. I remember you talking about that before, either on an episode or in private, but that was going to be what I bring up next. Is sometimes if assuming it gets through and you don't clog up your dip tube and have to do all that mess, it's just a few pours, and then hey, you're golden after that. You're proof of that.
So you ever listen to car talk, right?
Not in forever, but
but you have.
Oh, of course.
They used to always have a thing called Stump the Chump.
Yep,
I think it was called, and this is the Stump the Chump question. Somebody else should weigh in on this. We'd love to have your opinions on it.
Yeah, what you would do if you were underpitched and in a position where you either had to go to the keg and do fermentation again, or try to go back to the original fermenter.
My biggest part of I don't think that's I don't know how important that is, because you could certainly transfer into the secondary, or you could do it in the. My biggest question would be, what do you do about oxygen at that point?
That's
So what's the oxygen situation? If you added oxygen this far in the process, would you oxygenate the beer, or would that allow you to continue to ferment and then you wouldn't oxygenate the beer? I don't know.
Oxidate at that point. Oxygenate is when you want the oxygen. That's like the infusion at the beginning. Oxidizing your beer is the bad part, right? Isn't that the semantics of it?
Yeah, I mean, would you need to oxygenate it, or would it oxidate it?
There we go. And so, yeah, we speak good on this show. We speak good.
Yeah, very good.
Marty, we do appreciate you submitting the questions. And like I said, we've had hundreds of people call in. We've had thousands of people write in. And I'm going to go on a limb and say he's in my top 5. Marty's in my top 5.
He's dropped down quite a bit for me. That was a hard question.
It's because we're missing James, man. James will be like, here's what I do.
I don't know. I'm going to ask James after the show, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he wouldn't know absolutely for sure either.
The only thing I care to hear from James on is if he's tried the Mountain Dew and Jack. That's all I want to know.
I can answer that. He has not.
He hasn't gotten to that yet.
James hates whiskey. He would
does.
Not do.
I
don't think he likes Mountain Dew either.
Every time we're at the barn and we have some beer and he's hanging around, because lately he's actually been hanging out with us. For a while there, I thought he hated us, but now he's been hanging out with us, and it never fails. We'll bring out the whiskey and he'll go, that's my sign. I got to go. Like he had a bad experience in like 1984 and he doesn't touch whiskey anymore. It's incredible. I guess I'm that way with tequila, even though I had a shot with you one time and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So
yeah. Tequila good.
I fall to your peer pressure. James does not. I fall for it every time, though. You're like, hey, have the shot of tequila. No, I don't want it. Oh, you'll like it. Hey, drop out of college. No, I shouldn't. Yeah, just do it. Your peer pressure is overpowering in my life.
But look where it's led you. So, hey.
Look where it's led me. Anyway. Oh, sorry.
So we have another question?
Yeah, we do. We have more questions. Sorry. I don't know where my brain was going just then. Our second question comes from our buddy Kenny. I think he was drunk when he did this, using the hotline at 325-305-6107. And here's our buddy, Drunk Kenny.
Guys, what's going on? This is Kenny Hyman, a.k.a. the Brewer Seville. First off, we know my love for Josh. That's my boy. I'm always going to talk good things about Josh.
Somebody needs to.
But I have a question. So I have some kegs. They are corny kegs. And what seems to be happening is when I take the lids off them and I go to clean them out and I put the lid back on and I start to purge them I'll fill them up with sanitizer, and then I'll start to purge them so they're full of CO2 so that I can do closed transfers. I keep running into a problem where the lids will not seal properly on the keg. I have to move the lid around a lot, like turn it left and then right, like it's some sort of a safe or something like that with a combination. But I'll move the lid back and forth, and eventually I'll get it to seal, and it'll purge that keg. I'm wondering if there's any chance that I'm doing something wrong and that there's an easier option to seal that keg. I put lubricant on the
Get
rubber
ready with your mute
gasket,
button.
and I still have problems. So what can I do to make that seal better? I know Todd's the guy that probably asked this, so Josh, ask Todd, and let me know, and maybe let the world know. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
He's in my top 5 too for calls is Drunk Kenny, not Sober Kenny. Drunk Kenny. Hey,
when he first started, I was like, "What are you talking about?" He didn't sound it, but towards the end of that question, I could sound. So, Kenny, I'm glad you're having a good time. We've had a good time with Kenny before, and had a few beers, and it's enjoyable guy to hang out with. So, I didn't understand 100% the question. He lost me a little bit on the sanitizing part, that he had sanitizer in there.
A lot of people when they do transfers fill up the receiving vessel with the foamy. They don't fear the foam, and they transfer into, I guess, it can't be a full a full fermenter's worth.
I didn't understand that part. I didn't understand the sanitizer part. I'm gonna guess that he means that he sanitized the keg and then emptied the keg.
Yeah, right. That's what I take it as too. Yeah.
Okay.
But also I think the main question is I've had this issue before. I have it with my little 2.5 gallon keg where it seemingly is not sealing right. But on my 2.5 gallon, what happens is it doesn't matter which way I put it in, because kegs are ambidextrous. Would that be the word you'd use? Where they right? Yeah. Either way, they go in either way. Doesn't matter which one I do. At first, when I put the lid on and I close it and I turn the gas on, it sounds like it's leaking, and then all of a sudden it seals itself.
Yeah,
and that's just how
but not always. I mean, sometimes it doesn't seal itself.
No, I'm saying my keg, that's how it's always operated.
Yeah,
and it always seals. And I have soapy water and a little dispensing thing for me to test, because I've at first had thought, oh, Todd sold me a leaky keg, and by sold me I mean I stole behind his back a leaky keg, and that would be annoying. But what would you? I figure for Kenny, his main concern is there a better way to ensure the best seal on your homebrew corny keg?
Well, he's already doing what he needs to do. You want to make sure that it's pretty dry, and then you want to definitely make sure that the O-ring is well lubed, not overly lubed, but well lubed. And then a lot of kegs have this issue. Kegs are, we have kegs. I have kegs at home that I use that I'm sure 30, 40 years old, and they've been through a lot of use. A lot of them have little issues with the lid because people drop stuff on it or whatever may have happened. So yeah, you're going to run into this. We've all run into it. I have a keg that's so bad at home. It's a 2-gallon keg, and 2-gallon kegs are very hard to come by. So I've used it multiple times, but it is so bad, I have to put 2 O-rings on it to get it to seal. So yeah, I've run into it a lot. Typically, there's a couple things you can do. First is do exactly what you're saying. You open it up, pull up on that lever, have the keg hanging in the air, and you move it around until you get it to start sealing, and then boom, you close it and it seals. The other way you can kind of help with that process is put a lot more CO2 in it than what you initially need. So if you're just putting in 10 PSI, put in 30 or 40 PSI. Eventually it's going to seal. And then once it seals, it'll probably stay sealed, and you can take it down to that lower PSI and it'll usually stay sealed. So those are the two main things. Other things that you could possibly do is feel the inside of your lip on your keg. And if you've got a bad imperfection, like either bent going downwards or bent going upwards, a lot of times you can take a good pair of pliers and you can fix that just by lifting up, but first by just smushing on it so that you try to straighten it, and then kind of aligning it with the shape of the rest of the keg. That works very well and may eliminate the problem with that keg indefinitely. So that's something you can do. Just be careful. You don't want to mess up the keg, but obviously that's you'll that. So that's what I would do. I would do the overpressure. I would move it around. I mean, you're not doing anything wrong, Kenny. It's not you. It's your keg.
It's
Kenny.
not you. It's me. You tell me what your thoughts on this. I've had this happen to me before. I had a keg that I'm assuming original O-ring, right? Because I didn't replace it yet with the patch of new O-rings that I have here at the house. And it was this was here. This was like right.
Why not?
Why not what?
Why don't you just put the new O-ring on?
Oh, because if it's sealed, it was working fine for conversation's sake. It was working fine for a couple months.
Okay.
Then it wasn't, and when I took off the lid O-ring, it looked fine. But when I relubricated it, put it on, still leaking. Replaced it with a brand new one, slightly lubricated, put on, and the seal was fine. So yeah. I guess my question is, it can still look fine and have some slight imperfection that was causing the leak? Because to my eyes, I could not see. You know how sometimes the O-rings flatten? Like we've seen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suspect it was flattened out a little bit.
I wish I saved it because I'd take a picture and bet you $5 and go, it wasn't flat. It looked comparable to the. You don't believe me? It looked comparable.
No. I would take I would take my dial caliper and I would measure both of them, and I'd get my $5.
You would. I'm glad I know this now because I don't have one of those calipers. And you would go, oh yeah, no, the new look. Oh, it's a microscopic centimeter less. Okay, $5. Oh, you don't know. Oh, Venmo me. I do Venmo and PayPal and Cash App. You do all the apps now because you want to get paid your $5.
Yep.
But I guess my point being, sometimes when my stupid Neanderthal naked eye thinks that they're the same. It's something as easy as just swapping out the O-ring with a brand new one with, again, slightly lubricated. You are a huge fan of using that first as troubleshooting, the lubrication, light lubrication, because frequently it can be something as simple as that O-ring's there's too much friction to where it's not going to go in, or it's dry. What's the phrasing you'd use to where light lubrication allows it to get into that seal and do its job?
Yeah, I mean, lubrication or O-ring on an O-ring lube on an O-ring is going to allow it to function better. Always, it's sticky and it's gonna close down better and
close down better. That was just as good as what I said. Yeah, I thought there's some scientific word for allowing it to actually seal best. But yeah,
there is.
We just don't know it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. There are, people listening to this show like, good Lord, they need James or someone smarter than them. So yes, Kenny, like Todd said, that is probably one of the most common calls we've gotten over the years from people. They're like, it will not seal anymore. I've had this keg for 6 months. You sold me a lemon. And a lot of the times it's like, well, do the soapy water test, do the CO2 thing. Have you replaced the O-rings yet on the lid? Well, they look fine. Yeah. Just try it.
I'm saving those new ones for nice.
Yeah, I'm saving those new ones for nice. Well, now is the time. Anyways, Kenny, thank you so much for submitting the question. This is a good time. Whether you're Kenny Hyman, the Brewer Seville, or you're Joe Blow, or Marty from Omaha, or whoever, you get a $25 gift card when you submit a question to Keg Connection. You get a $25 gift certificate to kegconnection.com when you submit a question at homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on the submit a question link at the top of the page. Moving on, our third question. This guy might be my least favorite caller of the year. He just sounds arrogant. He sounds narcissistic, and he sounds like he manipulates people into dropping out of college. So let's listen to Bob, who used our hotline at 325-305-6107.
Yeah, hi, this is Bob. I have a keg that's full of beer, but it's starting to leak out of one of the dip tubes I have in storage, and I wasn't sure what to do about that. And I know Josh was really, really smart, and I was hoping he could tell me how to handle that situation. Thank you.
At gunpoint, you made me take this question.
So I thought Bob was delightful myself. But I'm glad he asked you because, I had a similar question to this at my home the other day. So anyway, I would like to hear you answer this.
I'd like to give the backstory first. I know this was all done on purpose, not the question, the whole setup, and allow me to elaborate. When Lorena Evans, the beautiful, lovely Lorena, was in town, they were transferring the beer that I brewed, and I mostly brewed. I'm the majority stake owner in that brew day of that Kolsch. I was getting questions for her episode.
Not true.
Majority. If we're going to argue of who brewed more of that beer, it was me. I'm arguing semantics.
I spent more time on it than you did.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, so her and Todd are inside while I'm outside fielding questions for the episode we're about to record with her. So they do the usual, Josh doesn't work. He doesn't do anything. Look, we're doing all the transfer, to the kegs. They're transferring to kegs. So
yet more of the work I did on that batch of beer.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So fast forward to the next time I'm up there, Lorena's already gone because I forgot that keg of Kolsch. And Todd goes, well, your keg's in the fridge. I was like, okay. I go over there to the fridge, and lo and behold, the keg has no CO2 in it, and there's some beer flowing down it, and there's a leak on the gas side, that dip tube. It's coming out. And I go, and you're at the office. I went all the way back to your house to get the beer before I hit the road. And no, pardon me, it's the morning of. I hadn't left yet. It was something like that because I did end up seeing you later. But anyway, I get the keg and I call him, and I'm very cordial. I'm a nice person.
You were not cordial.
I was level-headed and cordial, and I called and I said, Mr. Burns, I think you made a mistake. You gave me a keg that is unfortunately leaking, and I'm not sure what you suppose I should do.
This keg's got beer coming out the top. I don't understand. What did you do? It's gonna oxygenate. Yeah, it's got beer coming out of the top.
I would not say
the gas.
I don't sound like that. Not enough speech impediment in your impression. But I called upset. I was like, is it ruined because of the beer that actually came out? So that means it probably pushed the CO2 out. And then you did correct me immediately. I wasn't thinking because I was upset. You said, if it pushed it out, then how did oxygen get back in?
Well, to be fair to you, I will admit that the beer that came out probably got oxygenated.
Yes. Oxidated or oxidized. It's one of those.
Oxygen. Yeah, I got oxygen.
Oxygenized. You're right. And I did call irrational because when I go from 0 to 100 when I get upset about something. And so I did call frantic, and you were just like calm as a cucumber. Sounds like your problem.
Well, not only that, but I'm like, dude, you've worked at Keg Connection for 13 years. You really don't know how to answer that question?
Work. Come on. Work. I've worked for 13 years, 14, going on 14 years. You're right. I should know. And so while I'm trying to figure it out and I'm on my way there, I get a bloop, bloop, bloop. My phone's mounted on my car as I'm driving. New voicemail. And it says your number because I'm not an idiot. And so I play it on the thing. Oh, hey, this is Bob. It's so infuriating. Oh, you're just rubbing salt in my wound. All right. So let's take this question. Well, first off, let's address the claim you made to me, because it is still leaking when there's nothing attached to that post. There's been no issues that I have gas attached to it. And this holding CO2, it's not leaking per se. The second I move it from there, and if I attach forced air on a liquid distillate to the liquid post, it then causes it to leak again. So I wouldn't call that a leak in this situation, correct?
Well, I don't even know what you just said. I don't
it's only leaking. You forced carbed it on the liquid post.
Yes.
And that is what caused that beer to come out the gas post.
No.
Oh, so
no, it would just. I was so generous that I gave you a keg that was so full of beer that it was actually all the way to the top, and the beer level was above the bottom of the gas dip tube. So it had pressure in the keg, and it was leaking slightly. So the beer that was at the very top, the beer was leaking out because it had pressure on it, and it was leaking a little bit.
Oh, so that's what it was.
It could have easily happened on the liquid side as well. It just happened to happen on the gas side, which normally wouldn't have made any difference at all. But
right.
The keg was so full that there was beer in it, and it was just leaking out.
Okay, but for the sake of the question, for the 8 people who haven't left us yet, would you say, because here you think that I would know what to do, but there's a lot of context. I don't know if I would immediately have taken off the dip tube and checked for, and lubricated it, taking the poppet out and done a new O-ring on the post and lube stuff up and put that down. Or if I would have, my first step in hindsight now was to remember, because you told me that it has so much beer in it. So once you get it down a little, that should probably solve it. And that it seems like it has. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. If it were,
well, but you've got hoses connected to it. It's not going to leak when you have hoses connected to it.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll do an experiment. I'll take off the gas tonight.
Okay.
And let you know in the morning when we do the Trub Club Brew Day on Saturday. I'll have a report.
Well, it's probably below that level anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It is now.
Yeah.
100%. It's below that level now.
Okay. So what would you have done first? What was your very first move?
If someone calls and says they have a leaky post, is that what the question is for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first, I have a keg full. Let's take your Bob's question, and that's the question we're addressing, right? Like, I have a keg full of beer. It's starting to leak out of one of the dip tubes I have in storage. Were you drinking? Well, you have it in storage. What are you talking about? Oh, you have it in cold storage. And it's leaking out of the dip. I wasn't sure what to do about it, and Josh is really smart. I would ask, did you overfill it, or did you fill it to the top? Because if you did, then the easiest solution would be to get it down below that. No. Well, why are you saying no?
No, because that's not you said on either side. So to solve that on the liquid side, you'd have to empty the keg.
No.
That's what you just said. You said on either side.
Okay, well, Bob didn't say which dip tube. He just said one of my dip tubes. He didn't say which one. For me.
Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would take a pointy object and I would push on that poppet valve 2 or 3 times and see if it seals. A lot of times it'll seal when you do that.
Regardless of the liquid or gas post.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I would do that first because even if it's gas and it's below the dip tube and it's leaking, let's say it's just leaking gas out, still you push on it a few times and see if it'll seal. A lot of times it'll seal. Okay. If it won't seal, then I'm just going to answer the question if you don't mind. If it won't seal, the next thing you would do is you would remove the post and you would pull the post off. You would take it apart so that you take the poppet valve out. I would clean the poppet valve real good, clean the inside of the post. I would lube the O-ring on the poppet valve. I would put it all back together. I would screw it back on, and that's almost certainly going to fix it.
That's what I was going to say. Why'd you take my thunder? That was
another thing that I've done before is if I didn't want to take it all apart, is I've removed all the pressure and I've taken a little Q-tip and put some O-ring lube in that and pushed it down with a Q-tip, moved it around a little bit, pulled it out. And a lot of times that'll keep it from leaking as well.
Did you mention the depressurization before removing the dip tube? I didn't hear that part. The last step before the one you just said. I don't think you did. You have to depressurize. You have to depressurize it. You don't remove the post while it's still fully pressurized.
No. I mean, I wouldn't. No,
of course not.
Because beer's gonna shoot everywhere.
Right. Well, I
did. I think I may have mentioned that actually.
I'll rewind and see. If you did.
All right. Maybe I didn't.
I don't think you did.
You're just trying to catch me on every little thing. Man.
I am, because you embarrassed me. You embarrassed me at your barn, and thank God it wasn't on an actual episode or something, because I was fuming when you were like, "Huh, yeah, I guess that happens sometimes," and then you hung up on me.
Well, I mean, you have worked here 13 years, and you used to wash.
You're right. So you're right.
Test
okay.
kegs.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, that was part of testing a keg was to get the.
You're right. You're right. Instead of going from 0 to 100, here's what I should have done. I should have calmed down and said it's beer leaking. Beer doesn't leak out of a gas dip tube. That's not a common leak. It is not a common leak for beer to come out the gas side when there's nothing connected to it. Therefore, I should know the beer line is above the gas dip tube. That should have been troubleshooting 101 for me, instead of calling you and having you talk down to me like a child. Number 2, like you said, would have been the sharp object to push down on it, because that has worked for me as well with what were apparent leaks. I don't know the science behind it. It's kind of like blowing in a Nintendo cartridge. It just works. It just when it works, it definitely works. And yes, high five. The third option would have been depressurize the whole keg. This would have been the worst. God, it would have, and I would have whined if I had to done that. Depressurize the keg, go in your shop, get a socket, remove the post, and then either relube or
carefully clean the poppet valve, all the parts of spring, the poppet valve, right. Which is, I mean, it's part of it as a spring, and it depends on what kind of poppet valve you have, and then lube the O-ring, or in a worst case scenario, you might even have to replace a poppet valve that won't stop leaking. But 99% of the time, you can get it to seal that. You can get it to seal again. And remember, it's not that important that it seals. It is if you're storing it without anything on it. But once you connect the disconnect to it, it doesn't use that poppet valve anymore anyway. At that point, it's sealing at the post and the disconnect. The post O-ring and the disconnect are making the seal.
This is relevant but kind of off topic. It wasn't for Homebrew Happy Hour, so I don't need to give them a gift card. But someone messaged me not that long ago through Keg Connections Facebook asking, would you use a universal poppet, or would you try to source the original keg poppet. Like if you had you remember, because every keg has its own, and not its own.
Yeah, sure.
There are specific poppets made for the Firestone Challenger, or for the Cornelius keg, or for all the Spartanburg 5 or the 7, or there's a ton of different posts available. The John Wood post, right? Like there's a bunch of different ones available, but there's also universal poppets. Would you use just a universal poppet without thinking twice, or would you try to source? Okay, because that's what I do too, and I haven't had issues.
I mean, I keep them at the house all the time. I never use original poppets anymore. I only use universal poppets for everything.
Same here, and I haven't had any issues. But, there are some people on the interwebs who are like, no, I have a Spartanburg 5, and I need that poppet, which, God bless them if they want to pay the price for it and find it. Yeah, I say the price. They're not that much more. But universal...
Well, there are some circumstances where the universals don't work, particularly some of the old... I think it was some of the old racetracks that had those different posts in them, and maybe you can't get a good seal. It's almost usually when you have a problem with the universal, it's too tight. You can't get the disconnect on because there's not enough room. And one of the things you can do in that case is take a really good pair of snipping pliers and snip a little of the spring off, and that'll usually fix it.
Yeah, perfect. So, Bob. What a good guy, right? What a good guy. Thanks for submitting the question.
So I got salt of the earth.
Or too much salt.
And he talked about how smart you were. So he seems like a sharp guy.
Yeah, but when Kenny's voicemail played, he meant it. Bob didn't mean it. Bob sounded like Emily. And which I'm not convinced that it's still not you. I've been replying to that inbox trying to get a reply from who I still suspect is you. But thanks for submitting the question. I'm not giving you a gift certificate, Bob. Go piss off. Anyway.
That's rude.
Our last question. We don't even have a last question. We have some time left before we hit our hour mark. I was hoping to have James here too, but he's going to have to be on our New Year's show that we do next week. I'm going to be up at headquarters for a couple days next week. If I have to record it while I'm there and make him do it, because I want to hear his New Year resolutions with brewing and all that. But I wanted to end this show with our recap. If you had your favorite podcast or favorite moment of the show throughout the year, favorite thing we did, or your favorite batch of beer brewed, I'll start it while you're thinking, because I know I threw this at you kind of last minute. I have a couple things that stand out to me. Number one, the Kolsch Cup. If we do anything that we did in 2021 and 2022 again, I want to do the Kolsch Cup again. It was so well received. We got people sending us beer. They love the shirts were great. Marty at You Name It there in Comanche, they did a wonderful job on the shirts. People loved the shirts. Our critique was well received, believe it or not. People liked the score sheets we did. And I even got compliments after. I think that the AHA, in some people's eyes, kind of bumbled their national homebrew competition. And some of the feedback that was given to them was even worse than mine. This is good. This is not as good. It was even worse than that. And so people actually got our score sheets and wrote into us, texted me or called me or emailed me saying, your feedback was phenomenal. I made some changes. My next batch was actually way better. I know what you said was right, and what I did and this and that. I was flattered, and I was very happy. So if we could do Kolsch Cup in 2022, I'd love to. That was one of my absolute...
Oh, the same beer? We're not going to change the style of beer?
Oh, no. Well, we talked about doing multiples throughout the year. I want Kolsch Cup to be an annual thing. I would,
really? Okay.
I would love for there to be an annual Kolsch Cup. Brian, he needs to reply to this in the comments. I think he's a YouTube viewer now. He is the winner of it. We had Brian's Kolsch as a recipe when we were doing that. And he I think has his trophy displayed prominently in his living room. I think it's a prized feature. I'm making that up, but I think he does have it. He loved the trophy. Was huge. You remember? I mean, we went all out. It was not a money-making endeavor, despite me telling you it might be at first. And then I told you all the expenses I had, and you were like, Josh,
oh, we're going to make a ton of money. We're charging people $20, and all we're going to do is mail them. We're going to ship them a T-shirt that costs $12, and the shipping is
$15 before shipping. Yeah. No, we made no money. I'm not good at math, it turns out. And the
No, you know what? The other thing I have to say this: I still have some of those Kolsch's in my fridge, and I was real good about opening one and emailing the person and saying, "Hey, I tried your Kolsch; it's really good." I'm sorry, I haven't been doing that. It turns out after you have 2 or 3 of them, you forget. Yeah, but it's amazing how good a Kolsch is still in my fridge after how long?
Almost a year coming. I think it was March of last year that we did it.
It's great. It really is.
So yeah, I want to do that, but also to have the interviews that we did. I had specifically recently. So this is kind of a cop out because they were so fresh in my brain. Having Lorena at the ranch and Bob was the real Bob, the better Bob, her Bob. They were phenomenal. They were so much fun. And then doing the episode with Jeremy Kosmicki from Founders. Dude, that was like a highlight of my year. Mainly because
that was fun.
It was such a fun episode. But and then I will say the breakfast stout that we brewed was the highlight batch of the year because my dad and I had some brew day mishaps and it didn't affect the beer at all. Thank God. The beer still turned out great and got good feedback. And so that was my highlight batch. So what were your highlight moments and highlight batch of the year, if you even have any?
Well, one recent was it was a brown rye that a listener,
Jeff Wilkin. Yeah.
Jeff actually sent it in and gave it as a suggestion, and I brewed it. That was really good. I'm still got some, actually. I don't have any in my keezer right now, but I have another full keg of it. I'm about to start sober January.
Oh, so, you are doing dry January.
Yeah. So I'm going to save it until February for my birthday, but we've already drank 1 keg of it, and it is really good. I've really enjoyed that beer. I brewed our Abbey Light recipe at the very beginning of last year. I think it was at the very beginning.
It was it was February
of this year.
I know what you meant. Yeah.
And man, I was shocked at how much I like that beer. Like I really, really enjoyed drinking that beer. But I have to say, a lot of people did not care for that beer. A lot of people would taste it and they don't like the yeast. They don't like the Belgium yeast. Yeah. But, I'm so used to Belgium's being super strong and, triples and doubles and, stronger beers. And to brew a kind of I wouldn't say session. I think it still had 5.5% alcohol, but brew a Belgium that you could drink and it was light, but it still had that Belgium yeast taste that I like. I really enjoyed that beer. And then I would say probably another one was the Ocarina Springs grapefruit.
Oh, that was so
IPA.
Good. Oh,
God, I love that beer. The smell is spectacular. It's got a great aroma and it's got a great taste, and the two really go together with that beer. You're smelling and tasting, and it's good.
I took it to the beach with me. You did. You had overcarbonated it. Remember?
Yep. Oh, in the bottles.
In the bottles
that we did. Yeah.
But oh my gosh, yeah. IPA is not my thing. Obviously, it was phenomenal, especially at the coast. I don't know what it is about that salty air and kind of warmth that brought out the grapefruit. Was just super refreshing.
In hindsight, we overcarbonated that because I don't think we had a full 5 gallons.
Correct.
And in hindsight, I should have cut the sugar back, putting it in the bottle, but. To be fair, I hadn't bottled in 10 years.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
I just did, and you never bottled, right?
Never. That was the first time.
Yeah. We had 2 kegs of it as well. So the keg was really enjoyable. I still think I have some. In fact, I'm going to make it a point to have one tonight. What I do now is I open it and I set it out and then I drink it 30 or 40 minutes later. I'm going to have one on Saturday night because it's going to get down to 17 degrees, and I can open it and leave it outside and for 30 or 40 minutes, let it decarbonate a little bit, and then it's perfect.
It's getting down to 17 up there?
Yep, 17.
Whoa, yeah. It's supposed to only be like 29 here, unless it changed. It is crazy at the ranch how the discrepancy of temperature between.
And it has been so warm here. It's just, I'm wearing shorts right now. And I've worn shorts for 2 weeks in December, and I've never gotten cold. It's been very, very warm here.
Yeah, so. I'm wearing nothing below the sweatshirt. But anyway, Do you?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have? What about podcasts? Do you have? I mean, you go into every episode so ill prepared in regards to you don't read the show notes, you don't do anything. So I'd be surprised if you even remembered enough episodes this year to have a favorite moment. But was there? I can steal yours. I don't think did. We have Horst on this year, or have we not had Horst on this year?
I think so. Yeah, we have. I enjoyed. Yeah, we definitely have.
We have had him on this year.
Yeah,
that'd be your moment.
I think we've had him on twice this year.
Oh, I thought it was last year. I thought it was 2020.
I don't think so, because we talked about, we got all the advice on the call. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was this year. I enjoyed both of those. It's hard for me. I just enjoy every moment that I spend with you on the podcast. So it's really hard for me to pick one out and say that it was better than another one.
Yeah, that's very nice of you. Well, you don't act like that when I'm in person, though. I had such a good 2021 for the show. Our Trub Club, it had some ebb and flow in regards to, it happens when you have clubs like that. But we've still got, for recipe receiving, we've got right around 50 people who get recipes either every month or every other month. We're growing. We have our new ad rates I just published. I've been sending those out we have vendors that were interested in working with us last year, and some of them did and some of them didn't. And so I released all that. If you are interested in working with us, you can email Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com. I'll get you our media packet. I just updated our rates for if you want to sponsor the show. We do have new sponsors down the barrel in February, March already kind of lined up. Our Imperial, working with them has been a highlight of my life. They are incredible. Casey and Owen over there, they bend over backwards for us. If we could ask them, they just bend backwards. I like butchering any common saying that I can. They bend backwards. They're gymnasts. They do. They go the extra kilometer, or no, they go the extra. They go the extra mile for us. We call them for anything, and they're the top, bar none, best customer service of yeast manufacturers in the world. I love them. Our brow tag was a highlight. The development, y'all having that and us being able to launch it, just everything. 2021 was such a fun year. I'm looking forward. We're gonna do like I said, next episode we'll take questions, but we'll also do our New Year kind of resolutions, where we want to be at with brewing, this and that. Got the live brew day on Saturday. Me and Todd will hash out the time so we can coordinate, and I can zoom him in. You don't have to be on the whole time if you don't want.
Sure.
But I'll zoom you in, and I'm going to finally brew on the G40. I can't wait. That's going to be a great way to start off 2022, and I just can't believe it's already 2022. That's crazy to me. So
yeah, well, you actually won't. Let me think. You won't be starting it out because it's
Saturday is New Year's Day.
Oh,
Saturday's
wow.
the
So
first.
New Year's Eve is tomorrow night. Well, I gotta get my party plans in place.
And your ESB recipe kit. Get that together so you don't flake on me, because I want some. If you're doing dry January,
I'm not sure I'm doing ESB. Because I'm gonna have dry January, so I'll be able to keep it in the fermenter that whole month. I'm gonna think about what I want to do, but I may do ESB.
No, you're not. Now you're gonna do a lager. That was the easiest foreshadowing of any foreshadowing anyone could ever do. You're gonna do a lager.
I've just done so many lagers lately. I
know.
Like
so do an ESB. Do an ESB. You haven't done an ESB for 2 or 3 years. Do an ESB.
Yeah, that's true.
And put Fuggles in it for Lorena, and we'll bottle some with the beer.
Oh, we'll send it to her. That'd be nice.
Todd, I appreciate your time. Cheers to 2021, and I'll see you in 2022.
Yep. See you in 2022. Thanks.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in to 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, Imperial Yeast. Get a free pack of Imperial Yeast with your monthly recipe kit when you join our Chub Club. Go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club to learn more. On behalf of Todd Burns, the absent James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.